Welcome back to another episode of Football on the 40. It is officially game week on the 40 Acres Longhorn Faithful, and we will be rewarded this Saturday with some glorious, glorious Longhorn football. Welcome back. Today we will be discussing everything you need to know about Colorado State. We will also have our first edition of Longhorn football trivia. We'll then follow it up with some highlights from Sark's Monday press conference, and we'll get into a primer on the depth chart for the game ahead and our award-winning betting corner. First, we'll talk about what's new with the guys, and then we'll ask what we're doing for the game on Saturday. So fellas, Andy, do you want to start off what's new with you, and what's your plan for the game this Saturday?
Nothing too new with me. Had a pretty chill weekend. Hopefully we don't follow Florida State's footsteps and lose our first game of the season. But that was an awesome game on Saturday. Um, but yeah, going to the first game, super excited about that. It seems like a good amount of people are going. Are y'all going?
Yep, I'll be there.
Okay.
A lot of our Houston contingent will too.
Yeah. So it seems like a good amount of people are going. Um, so that's exciting. Hopefully it's not too hot. Hopefully we get some rain or some cloud cover or whatever. But thankfully football season's here. Bo, how was your weekend? What are you planning to do this weekend?
Yeah, weekend was good. My folks came into town because I convinced my mom to stay the whole week after she came in town for Theo's birthday. So she hung out with us, helped us around the house, and got to spend some time with the grandkid, which she loved. And then my dad came up this past weekend too to hang out. So that was a ton of fun. The
Great.
last weekend before the football season, and yeah, I'll be at the game this weekend too. So looking forward to seeing y'all and getting out of our friend group hibernation, as I always call it. So super stoked about that.
Yeah, for sure. Have y'all
Yeah.
seen like the 2 week the 2 week notice that like husbands are giving to their wives? Like that
Yes.
trend on TikTok? That's so funny.
Yes.
I saw that, but I didn't send it to Emily because I thought it'd be too real. It'd be too real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing enough recently to get just the eye roll, so it wouldn't really change anything for me there. But yeah, I've seen that. Um,
Oh man.
I also watched a lot of football this weekend, as much as I could. There wasn't actually a whole lot on, but was like just reminded of how awesome college football is with that Florida State game. I thought like the Irish vibes or whatever was a little bit weird. I've always thought it's strange when we try to move football east and go across the Atlantic, but it seemed like everybody enjoyed it and the stadium was cool and everything. After FSU's first drive, I texted you guys like, "Oh my gosh, is Florida State the best team in the country?" Because they just literally ran the ball down the field, nothing stopping them, and it ended up being such a cool game. I also watched the whole SMU game basically, and that one was just as good. They almost lost, but ended up pulling it out. So couple tight games to remind us, don't be too confident, but also we're getting ready to break down what should be a pretty easy opponent. So, um, but like you guys said, I'm tired of the countdowns on like the Texas football Instagram, like reminding us, what players wore jersey number 8 and jersey number 14. Like I just want to get into the season and
You want
start
zero.
getting
You
exactly.
want JT Sanders. That's what you want.
Yeah.
That's what Kev wants. Well,
I'm tired of the countdown, so let's get into it.
yeah, let's get into it. Andy, what can you tell us about Colorado State? Let's dive right into the game.
Yeah, for sure. So every week I think we're gonna kind of break down the schools that we're playing. As you know, we're going into SEC. There's a lot of new teams that we haven't played um, in the recent history, including like A&M. So I think it's good just kind of give like a background sense of where each school is from and kind of just go from there. But yeah, Colorado State, they're from Fort Collins. Awesome little town in my opinion. I've been there before. I had to go up there for work a couple times, and yeah, it's a better town than one would expect. And I got confirmation on that from Cayman as well, our Colorado buddy. So his first thought was just craft beers. So Kevin, I think you would like Fort Collins if you went up there. But yeah, just kind of some quick stats about the university. About 33,000 students, 91% acceptance rate, which is a little rough, but
Nice.
gotta get people into school somehow, I guess. So, um, yeah, for reference, Texas is at 31%. So, but not bad on the ranking list. Not great, but not bad. They're 151. Um, and in 1957, they switched from Colorado A&M to Colorado State, which kind of similar time to Oklahoma. It used to be Oklahoma A&M, and then they switched to Oklahoma State. So kind of similar timeline with them, which is interesting. But yeah, Kev, any famous alumni you found at Colorado State?
Yeah, Lane Kiffin. I talked a little bit about him last week, but Lane Kiffin went to Colorado State, and there's not many other notable alumni. Um, they randomly have like a lot of astronauts too. I didn't have enough time, but they must have some kind of program in aerospace or something. But I scrolled all the way through a list of 100 famous alumni, and there was like 7 or 8 astronauts and Lane Kiffin and like a gun rights activist or something like that. But also like I'll squeeze this in here. They seem to be investing a lot in their football program lately. Like with some of the stuff that we'll talk about later, I think they do have like a pretty good football culture for a relatively small unknown school. They also built a new stadium a couple of years ago, and it seats like 35,000, so it's nothing compared to DKR, but it does look pretty new and modern. So it seems like the game day experience is something that they're investing in too up there, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I agree. It definitely seems like they're taking football a little more seriously. They're part of the Mountain West Conference, which is probably the best power or group of five school now. Or group of five conference, I should say. But uh, yeah, then just a little bit about their football history. They started in 1893, which is the same year Texas started. So that's interesting in itself, but not nearly as successful as Texas. Their best coach was around 100 years ago. So that's kind of telling about their program. Harry Hughes, he was a coach from 1911 to 1941, and then also 1946. He made one more appearance after World War II, and yeah, most famous player to play at Colorado State is probably Joey Porter. Bo, you probably remember him from our younger years,
Hmm.
but yeah, he was a good linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, enough about the background. Let's kind of dive into the press conference. Kev, what do you got?
Yeah, I think not to call ourselves media, but we were expecting to be able to talk about a depth chart. And for the second year in a row, Sark hasn't released one, which does annoy a lot of media members. I don't think we care at all because we kind of know what that's going to look like. The one player that we know is going to start is obviously Quinn Ewers, and then the punter. Sark also named the punter that's going to start the game. But um, during the press conference, Sark highlighted a lot that they were going to take a similar approach on Saturday as we did last year against Rice, in that they're going to play like a ton of players in the first half, and their game planning doesn't extend much past the half because they'll make adjustments and um, go from there in whatever way suits the game best or helps us cover the spread best. Although I don't think Sark cares about that at all. Um, Sark mentioned in his press conference last year, just to give some measurables on this, that in the first half against Rice last year, they played 32 players just on the defensive side of the ball. So we're going to see, according to him, every player on the 2 deep roster, and they're going to try to give these guys as much experience as they can, and also use the game as an opportunity to try to figure out like not only who the best players are in each position, but which guys are playing well in particular situations. So the game plan for this is a little bit different than a typical game. I don't want to call it a scrimmage because I think that's, being mean to Colorado State, but it's definitely not like a player game plan that we're going to see in SEC play. They're kind of still trying to figure out the team a little bit. Um, the other thing that I noticed that we've talked about a little bit like offline is the Texas football or the Texas sports YouTube channel is no longer posting Sark's press conferences, which makes it really hard to get like firsthand quotes from him and see everything that he says. But Andrew, you mentioned in our text or whatever that there's still an LHN app and you can get them there. So I'll be watching the press conferences on the LHN app and kind of ticked that I have to download it. I thought LHN was dead.
They're pulling a
It
peacock.
should be dead.
Pulling a peacock on y'all, on us.
Yeah. Like there's no way that brand is valuable enough to like have an app and have revenue. Anyways, I could go off on that soapbox, but it's hard to watch these press conferences now. So I got all this
Yeah.
kind of secondhand. One other thing that Sark mentioned, and he talks about this a lot about how he loves the pageantry of college football and just the game day experience, not Texas specifically, but I think he's a guy that if he wasn't coaching, he would also be watching college game day and soaking in as much as he could. Like he's a fan of the sport genuinely too. So he dropped a couple of things that he's excited about with our game day experience with like Vivo Boulevard and Longhorn City Limits and the fact that they're going to honor some recent Olympians during halftime and stuff like that. And he seems really excited like he always does at the beginning of the season just for college football to start, which is it's cool to hear your coach kind of enthusiastic about the same things that you are. And one thing that I wanted to mention too, which wasn't in the press conference either, was for those that don't know, Longhorn City Limits is like an effort by CDC, I think, to get more fans close to the stadium right before the game because the tailgating is really spread out with there's no like central green space on campus. And it's a free concert with, free tailgates around. You can get drinks and enjoy music before the game. And there's some pretty big names I think that are going to come through this season. Midland, like a country band that I assume a lot of our listeners would know, is going to be playing for free starting at 11 a.m. So I will try to convince Sam and Hamilton and Hill and everybody else to go to that. I don't know if I'll be successful in that, but it sounds like a pretty cool concert to see before the game. And also, my local barbecue spot, I live like less than half a mile from Pinkerton's, is going to be serving barbecue on the LBJ lawn, I think, all season. So that's pretty cool. That
Yeah, that's sick.
I saw
That's,
that.
Yeah.
I
that's
saw
so
that
cool
like
that they're
interaction
coming.
play out on Twitter with like CDC and the folks from Pinkerton. It's fun to see that come together.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like
for
we
sure.
we go there a lot. We actually always hate it because we can't fit Hayes' little chair under their tables. And he basically runs wild with like, um, like a rib in his hand, getting everybody dirty and bothering people that don't want to deal with the baby. But it's just neat that we'll get some like local barbecue that we know really well there on game day, hopefully.
Yeah.
Um, One other thing that I'll mention that's kind of repeating myself, but he talked a lot about everybody in the two deep's going to play. Sark was asked about Arch Manning, and he emphatically said like, "Yes, we will see Arch," and he said it with such confidence that I think Arch might even be playing like in the third quarter, even if it's a close game.
Yeah.
So the timing with that and like that Dr. Pepper commercial that just came out where Quinn is like making the play about the backup and how he doesn't need a backup, kind of joking on
Yeah.
that and referring to Arch. I think that is like going to be a golden storyline for Dr. Pepper, and it was the perfect writing for that first commercial because it's inevitable that that conversation is going to be more relevant after this game. Like Arch is going to play some real time. Their stat lines might look really similar, and if it's a closer game than we want, like we will be talking about that. So, kudos to Dr. Pepper, but also I think all of us are excited to see more of Arch. So, um,
Yeah.
Colorado State, though, like back to their football team specifically, Andrew. How have they been in past years? What should we expect on game day on Saturday? Let's get into previewing the game.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I guess I'm taking the reins from Jake since he's not here to give the weather forecast anymore. So I feel like I need to give it so the listeners kind of have an idea what to expect. Jake is going to hate me for this, but I took this all from the Weather Channel app, so Jake will not be happy. And it's also I got it today, so 5 days out, and yeah, basically all of Jake's rules about weather I broke. But right now, expecting about 95 degrees on game day. I think there's going to be some cloud cover with they say 40% chance of rain. So that'll be nice as long as it's not thunderstorms and delaying the game. But the biggest news is that 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the north. So not really a cold front, but that's going to be a dry wind. So that's nice. And hopefully we get kind of a, nicer weather going forward. Obviously, the game's at DKR. I want to ask y'all real quick, if someone donated $1 billion to Texas, but the one condition was you have to change the name, do you think Texas changes the name of the stadium?
Yeah, 100%. Do you know how much $1 billion
Yeah, that's a lot
is?
of money. I don't
Yes.
What do
know.
you think the line is? Like 500 million?
Oh, uh, I don't know.
I'd
Probably
say
if it.
250 million. It is a lot because, you don't want to change the name of the
I
stadium.
guess it depends what they change.
Also,
Yeah, it depends like who's naming it. Like if it's like crypto.com and they come in and try to rename the stadium, I think the boosters probably have a a coup, but
Yeah.
it depends on the name.
yeah. It's since you said it, I remembered it. Like I mentioned, I got the press conference stuff secondhand. On what I was watching, they mentioned this morning that actually Daryl K. Royal's wife passed away this morning. She was 98. So rest in peace. And we don't want to
Yeah.
change the name of the stadium. But
Rest in
a
peace.
billion
No, we
dollars
don't.
is $1 billion.
Yeah.
For
But
sure.
98, that's a long, long life. So I'm sure she's glad to be back with her hubby. But yeah, going back to Colorado State, 5-7 in 2023. A lot of close games. I think the most memorable game is Colorado. Honestly, they probably should have won that game, but Colorado snuck it out at the very end. They are coached by Jay Norvell, which Longhorn fans you probably remember. He was a wide receiver coach in 2015, but after the Notre Dame game, got promoted to OC because Sean Watson was that much of a dumpster fire. His probably biggest success was the OU game, where I think we only threw the ball like 10 times that game. So, um, yeah, that was a fun game, but overall, not a long history with Texas. Colorado State, they really have two big name players, both returned from last year. We got Braden Fowler, Nicolosi. We're gonna go with that, and then Torrey Horton, who will probably be NFL draft pick, either first or second day this upcoming year. Supposedly, both of them turned down $600,000 to go transfer to another college,
Wow.
which to me just is a lot. It's a lot of
I
money.
I'm not calling you out, but I think that's a fake story. I don't think that's real.
That's what they said, though.
I don't think
That's
that's
like
real.
actually reported. I don't
I
know if
know.
it's real or not.
And I watched the video that you sent us on that, which had 80 views, which really inspiring. Would love to have that. Um, but there's no way. Like they were like saying, "Oh, I didn't come to college to make money." Like I know a lot of kids are not interested in that. Like I want to win games with this team. Like no, like I
I
don't
guess
think
we
that's
could
real.
we could have offered them 600,000, and
Yeah.
that could have been the source.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, who
are we
knows?
supposed to think they're like good people or I'm sure they are, but it just reeks of
I
being
mean,
fake.
Horton is going to be an NFL draft pick. I'm sure. I don't know about the quarterback, but Horton, I think, could have transferred to a bigger university. But yeah, I mean, you could be right. Like 600,000 is just like a big number for two Colorado State players. So,
Yes. Yes. Anyways,
but yeah, going. But the quote from that video was pretty funny to me. It says, "If we do our job, we do what we're supposed to, we will win championships and go to the playoffs, shock the world." Which just reminds me of our IM basketball teams back in college, where, we had high aspirations, but really, really, we were not that good.
yeah,
So,
where you wouldn't pass the ball. Yeah.
hey, someone had to score.
Andy
That's all
was
I have to
definitely the
say.
playmaker. Someone had to score and someone had to foul. So Andy had us on the points and came in and
Came
had
in.
us on the fouls. So,
Yeah.
Uh, good times. We were definitely a lot better at football than our basketball teams. But yeah, just going back to their QB play, Fowler, Nicolosi had good stats last year, 62% completion percentage. threw for about 3,500 yards, so almost 300 yards a game. So yeah, real good as a quarterback last year. Had 22 touchdowns, but threw 16 interceptions. I'm sure he'll improve on that going into this season, but I think that's something to keep in mind. He's only a redshirt sophomore, so still relatively young. I think he's only like 20 years old. Um, so yeah, I think that's something to keep in mind and something to keep an eye on with the game this weekend and see if Texas can create any turnovers. As I mentioned before, Torrey Horton, I think he's going to be an NFL player. I don't know how long in NFL, but I think he will be drafted in the second and the third round range based on what I've read so far. 96 receptions last year, which is a lot. Over 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. Really good receiver, dynamic, pretty tall, fast once he kind of gets out into the open field. So, big body receiver, and it will be a good test for our defensive backs going into the season. Their defense, not much to really cover there. They're not very good. They gave up 30 points a game. Um, Give up a lot of yards on the ground, in the air. So I think we'll be able to score on them. But Bo and Kev, do y'all have any insights on Colorado State? Anything y'all want to add?
I was just gonna say, like you mentioned, or here in the notes, you mentioned that Colorado was the quarterback his best game last season, and it reminded me that the head coach Jay Norvell got into like online beef with Deion Sanders last season. He criticized Dion for the week prior not taking off his sunglasses to shake the opposing coach's hand, and they got into like a Twitter beef the week leading up to their in-state rivalry game. So, um, awesome story. You love to see that as a college football fan. I hope he doesn't direct that sort of attitude toward his, previous program, having coached here before. But don't be surprised if he, goes to Twitter or in an interview or something says, something a little spicy to try to get in our team's head. This is one that like we need to win running away,
Hmm.
and if we don't, we're all going to be uncomfortable. So the stats and the team don't concern me, but also I might watch this next week and feel stupid for saying that.
Yeah.
What about you, Bone?
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that. I think the only thing that I wanted to add on top of y'all's, really top-notch analysis was, a big change for our listeners and watchers to pay attention to this year for folks that didn't watch the week 0 matchups was, this is the first year they're going to have in-helmet microphones. So now they can communicate, QBs can communicate directly with the coaches, and they don't have to do all the signs. Sark was, he didn't make a big stink, but he did talk about a lot last year on how long he had to spend every week changing his signs up from game to game, and so not having that anymore, I think is going to be a big change. And now the crowd is going to play into a much bigger factor with Colorado State too. So I think it kind of played out a little bit in the Georgia Tech Florida State game a little bit, but that was also like in halfway across the world. This is going to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like a big, big home game for us. And yeah, like y'all said, we're going to be eager to make our impact on the game. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the course of the
That's
game.
that's a good point because I do remember seeing Haynes King like
Yeah,
doing that,
yeah, I
and
saw
he's
that a
trying to
few
hear the
times.
play call.
Hmm.
So if we see that from the CSU quarterback with two last names, then get
Yeah, it's
louder.
just going to motivate us to get loud. So that'll be
Yeah,
fun to
for
see
sure.
us make an impact on hopefully a bunch of delay of game penalties.
Yeah, that also makes me terrified to play in College Station this year, but we'll get to that.
We got a whole season, Kev. We got a whole season. We don't have to worry about that. Okay. Good, good. Well, like Bowen said at the beginning, we're introducing a new segment that we're going to have each week. Bowen and Kev are going to have a weekly trivia contest. So this is how it's going to kind of play out. I'm going to ask them two questions every week. For each correct answer, they get 1 point, and if one of them wins a week, they get a 1 point bonus. So the most you can win in a week is 3 points. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Let's get it.
Obviously, yeah. So obviously, the least amount of points is 0 points. So a lot of lot of different outcomes that can happen. So the theme of these questions are going to be my game log, and these questions are specific to the games I've attended
Oh gosh.
throughout the years. So best of luck on y'all to y'all on this contest this week and throughout the season. So yeah, let's start off with the first question. In 1999, I went to my very first Texas game. So who did Texas play my very first game? And this is going to be multiple choice.
Okay.
A, Nebraska. B, Oklahoma. C, Texas A&M. D, Texas Tech.
All right, I have my guess. Kevin, do you have
I'm gonna
yours?
say it's B,
Wait,
right?
wait, wait, don't wait, wait. Okay,
That was my
go
guess
ahead.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, Oklahoma.
B, Oklahoma.
That is
Oh
incorrect.
damn.
All
It
right.
was actually A, Nebraska. The
Ah,
Big 12 championship was in San Antonio that year, so very easy trip for me. My first OU game was in 2000.
I assumed it
So
was OU because you've been to it like 20
that was
times, I
my
think.
logic too.
Yeah.
I think this year is 26.
Wow.
Yeah, 26 straight. Or no, 25. This year, 25 for me.
Yeah, I was like, it's 2024. There's no way, but
Okay. Yeah, 25 this year. So that's exciting. Okay. Next question. In 2003, I went to the most games out of any season of my career. I went to 10 games.
wow.
Can you name the two regular season games that I did not go to? Both are Big 12 teams. That's a hint. And essentially, you just have to get one of the two right.
Is
So
it is it multiple
wait, come up.
choice?
Wait. Not multiple choice on this one. So just think of Big 12 teams, and you just have to get one of the two right to get it correct for the week.
How do we deliver the answer?
Uh, Both of y'all think about it, and then I'll just honor code. I'll ask Bowen first, and you, Kev.
Okay.
Okay,
Just let me know when y'all are ready.
I'm ready.
I guess I'm ready too.
Okay, Bowen, go
I'll
ahead.
go Nebraska and TCU.
Okay, Kevin.
I'm gonna go Nebraska and Oklahoma State.
Kev is correct on his answer. He also gets the weekly bonus because he
Damn.
won.
You got both
Oklahoma
of
State
them?
was the answer.
Oh, Oklahoma State.
No,
Oh wow.
I Nebraska, Texas did play Nebraska in Austin that year, so I did go to that one. The two regular season games that I did not go to were Oklahoma State and Iowa State. So
Let's
those
go.
were the two. So good job, Kev. You got 2 points to start the year.
Yeah.
Obviously, the theme of the trivia will change each week, so that'll be fun and exciting, hopefully, and we'll see where it goes. But Bo, take us into betting corner.
Oh, thanks for that, Andy. Yeah, I'm glad it's not Andy's game log every week because if that was the case, I probably need to talk to Mama Harris or Papa Harris and get a weekly FaceTime going to study up. But yeah, awesome. Thanks, Andy. That takes us into our award-winning segment, Betting Corner. So last week, we just placed a bunch of future bets. So we didn't take any of the week zero games. So fortunately, that means none of us are in the red. Unfortunately, that means none of us are positive either. So we'll see what this week brings with a big, big slate of games. As a reminder, this year we are instituting at least one bet on the Texas game. We want to make sure that we have skin in the game on every week at hand. It can be against Texas, it can be for Texas, but just something on the game, some action on the game, so that we make sure that we have just some buy-in on the action. And then we can do something from across the country too. So if folks have another bet that they like in this week's slate of games, we can definitely do that. On this pod, we'll just highlight one other bet around the country. So for the matchup against Colorado State this week, we are pretty heavy favorites, as the guys kind of alluded to earlier. We are 30. Texas is 32.5 point favorites. So for any non-gamblers out there, that means that Vegas thinks that we will likely win by at least 32 and a half points, so 33 points. And the over under, or the total for the game, is at 59 and a half. So they think that our score combined with Colorado State's score is going to be, over or under 59 and a half, just around that range. If you like Colorado State this week, if you think that they'll pull a Georgia Tech, they are 35 to 1 on the money line. So a dollar on Colorado State would get you $35 in return. So, or $36 because you get your dollar back. But that would be a pretty awful outcome. But that is on the board. And if you like Texas on the other side, we are minus 20,000. So you would have to bet $20,000 on the game to win $100. So that gives you a little bit sense of how lopsided it is and how heavy of a favorite we are this week as well. So hopefully we're not sweating like Kevin was saying. But yeah, we'll start with this game, fellas. Texas versus Colorado State. Are y'all taking any? What action are y'all taking on the game? Actually, Kevin, we'll start with you first.
I'm gonna do simple, low stakes here. 1 unit on CSU to cover that line. Reason being, our strategy isn't to blow them out. It's to get a feel for our roster and play a lot of different guys. So if we go, 2 drives in a row looking great, the coaches are going to change everything up and try to see something different. They're not seemingly strategizing to cover the spread. So I'm taking 1 unit on Colorado State to cover.
Nice. I like it. I like the logic. What about you, Andy?
When someone gives you 35 to 1 odds, you got to not take it.
I was going to say.
I was just about to say, I was like, Andy, there's no way you take that.
No. Yeah, so I love the over for this game, but just based on my success last year with predicting Texas games, usually the opposite hit. So I'm going to give me the under for the game.
Okay, how many units?
Just 1 unit.
Okay.
Not feeling super confident, but yeah, 1 unit on the under.
I think that would be a surprise if the over didn't hit.
That's actually pretty funny, the logic, Andy, because I'm also taking, I like the under too. That was my bet. I'm actually going to do 4 units on the under 59 and a half with the same logic that Kevin had, right? With like us kind of switching things up. Maybe we put the second unit, 3rd unit, even secondary out there. They break out a big play that maybe Colorado State has, but then we really clamp down afterwards too. I don't think that we will. I think it might be, well, with that logic, maybe it's high scoring, but I don't think we'll let them run away with it. And I think our offense will be kind of switching in and out as well. So we'll get into game predictions after this as well. But I'm thinking like Vegas always picks a great line, but I think it'll settle around there. But I think we'll hit the under for the total this week. All right, moving on. I think that's rounds us out for this game. I don't have anything else around the league, but I'll start, Andy, with you. Do you have anything else out there for this week's games?
Yeah, my only major bet that I have this week, I really love A&M against Notre Dame. They play at Kyle Field, so that's obviously a benefit to A&M. But Notre Dame's offensive line is already depleted, and A&M's defensive line is one of the best in the country. I just don't see Notre Dame be able to, put up a lot of points against A&M. I think it'll be close, and I don't really want to get into covering. So just put 3 units on A&M money line. I think that comes out to about minus 140. A&M's favored by 3 points, or 2.5 points, something like that. So yeah, 3 units on A&M to win the game.
Yeah, that makes my next one easy because I had 2 other bets. One of them was 1 unit for the exact same bet you just took. I'm left wondering what A&M is going to be ranked after that game because I think Notre Dame is more highly ranked than they are. Anyways, I took the same bet there, but my other is I'm trying to go more cautious this season because I actually lost a lot of money, surprise, surprise, on betting corner last year. And I'm gonna put a lot of money on the easy thing. So Georgia plays Clemson at home. Both teams are very talented. but I'm taking Georgia money line for 8 units there. Like, I don't know how many weeks this is gonna last, but I'm gonna try to go boring, Kirby Smart with most of my money most of the time this season, and hopefully avoid what happened to me last year and the year prior, actually. So, yeah, Georgia.
There
Nice.
you go. They
Okay.
do play, just a heads up, they do play in Atlanta. So
Mm.
technically not a home game, but essentially a home game.
Yeah, I don't think that changes things for me. It
No, it
maybe
shouldn't.
makes the line on the game more telling because I think Georgia's favored by like 14 to 16 points, and knowing it's a
Yeah.
neutral site, like it's Kirby Smart. Next question.
I like it.
Um,
I like it. Yeah.
Bowen, you're only going 4 units this week?
I'm only going 4 units this week. I'm playing a little conservative as well. I think Andy's only going 4 units too, though. So I think you're the only one.
Oh, I have a couple other bets. I
Oh,
just
I
didn't
see. You
share
didn't.
them
You
for the
didn't
sake of
highlight
time.
them on the pod.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just doing
Yeah.
one. I'm easing into it. I feel kind of similarly as Kev. I did not fare well last season, so we're gonna see how week one fares and, you know, tweak the system, up or down based on how this week goes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Be the,
looking forward to getting these bets in.
be the tortoise, not the hare. Love it. Okay. Starting to wrap up here. Let's talk about like score predictions for our game, Colorado State in Austin. Just quickly here, Andrew, what are you expecting?
Uh, I'm going to go with 45-13. That's right, on the spread number. So yeah, 45-13, the under would hit in that situation.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 42 to 20. Texas wins by 22.
Oh wow,
Very good.
we are I had mine total nailed before y'all mentioned y'all's, but I also said around the 40 range. 42 to 14 is what I had right under the total too.
Nice.
So yeah, I think two scores by Colorado State, and hopefully we run it up a little bit as we cycle through the folks. So yeah, fellas, I'm super stoked for this weekend. It'll be great seeing y'all again and seeing all the pageantry on Bevo Boulevard, and hopefully some clear skies and low resting heart rates during the game. That would be that's what we strive for here on football on the 40. But
This this is my first season with an Apple Watch, so I'll be able to
compare,
contribute to
yeah,
the heart rate analytics
yeah.
after the game.
Every once in a while,
Kev,
I'll send the guys like my just the trend line of my heart rate, during the course of a Texas game. Andy,
y'all
what were
need
you
to
saying?
keep track of like your heart rate like throughout each game, like throughout the season,
Yeah, we'll
and see like what's the highest heart rate.
Yeah,
yeah.
if you can download that, I can make some, Power BI graphs or something.
Yeah,
We'll talk
I'm
we'll talk
sure you
about
can
it
export
offline.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll wrap us up here, folks. Listeners, I did want to highlight. I forgot to mention this last week. We do have a mailbag as well. Last season and seasons past, for our new listeners, we love listener submitted mailbag questions. You can find that on our Instagram, on our link tree, and it'll be on our Spotify and our YouTube description as well. So if you have any questions, any life advice y'all might want, we're happy to chime in on those. Or if you have any opinions or thoughts around the Texas football program, we're happy to answer those as well, each and every week. So yeah, want to mention that, and that'll do it for us this week. Once again, thank y'all for listening. Hopefully we'll see some of y'all on Saturday. If y'all see me, I'll be in a football on the 40 bucket hat, FB40 on the front. So say hi if you're in the crowd. And for everyone watching at home, look for us on the TV, and really hope for a really great start to the season. And that'll do it for us. We'll see you on the next football on the 40.
Hook 'em.